business. You heard that, business. Coming at a major cost to parents across the country and leaving some leagues out of reach for kids in working class families. I got an inside look at this booming industry and the programs dedicated to giving every athlete the opportunity to compete at a level that they want. Watch.
Youth sports, exercise, discipline, cooperation, camaraderie, all an important part of growing up. But the chance to play can come at an exorbitant cost.
It's a $17 billion a year industry and growing. It's more than the NFL.
Year-round training programs, travel, equipment, facility and coaching fees have turned the world of youth sports into a booming industry.
It's well done.
Some parents even spend 10% of their annual income on sports.
I've heard of polls being taken on Facebook. What's the best baseball cities? Trying to look to where to relocate my 8-year-old.
Good.
The staggering price tag has created inequality on the playing field, with kids from poorer families often unable to participate.
I think what's happened in the last 10 years is that everything's become professionalized. Professional coaches, more equipment, better facilities.
David Juris runs the training program for the Red Bulls, a professional soccer team that operates youth and community programs based in New Jersey. Owned by the energy drink Red Bull, their regional youth program targets high-potential talent. Boys and girls as young as 10 years old can play soccer free of charge.
What we do see is that kids from probably lower-income areas, they may not always have the same accessibility to the best facilities, to the best coaches, to the best programs.
Stars Premier is the elite-level program for Super Soccer Stars, a nationwide organization who provides scholarships for players whose families can't afford it.
My mom don't have that much money.
Meet Maynor Palacios, the 14-year-old son of Honduran immigrants, who is a standout player for Stars Premier.
If I didn't get accepted for that team, then I was not going to be playing soccer.
We were preparing for nationals. Maynor was on Randall's Island walking around, looked a bit lost, so I invited him to join us for practice and gave him an invitation to join us for a full season. I saw something in him when he came to practice with us.
There is value in equal opportunity on the playing field. Last summer, Maynor and his teammates won the U.S. Club Soccer National Championships in Colorado.
When we won the national championship, I felt like I achieved one of my dreams.
We have all walks of life. I call us the UN. We have players from all over the world. It's very important for these kids to have these opportunities.
And the story is just not about soccer. It's about lacrosse, about swimming. It's about everything. Joining us now is assistant professor at Utah State University and founding director of Families in Sport Lab, Dr. Travis Dortch. Dr. Dortch, I'm concerned that kids who just want to play now don't have the money. They can't.
Yeah, it's hard for a lot of families. I think what we're seeing is this trickle-down professionalization into youth sport, and that's really pricing a lot of families out. You know, I think back anecdotally just to my childhood as a young athlete who achieved ultimately at a pretty high level. It was all about going to the park, playing with friends. You know, dad was the coach, and just the opportunities to sample a number of sports year-round and 6 weeks, 8 weeks here, and bounce around between those sports. We're not seeing that as much today.
Yeah, I mean, the number you gave us, 10% of a family's gross income is spent on sports per child. I mean, think about that. You'll do anything for your kid. You'll get him a tutor or get her a tutor or do whatever you can. Now, all of a sudden, your kid wants to play sports. You're not going to leave him or her back. So you're forced to write these checks. But yet the kid isn't even having enough fun because it's specialized and perhaps the intensity is too great.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that this varies by child's age. It varies by sport. And our data do indicate that it's anywhere from about 2% to 10% of gross annual income, and that's per child. So you think about families maybe that have 2 or 3 or even 4 children participating at the same time, and this can get pricey real quick.
Right, and think about it. The coaches now get paid. It's no longer a volunteer. A lot of times you got to travel. The uniform's going to cost money, depending on the sport you pick. Tackle football is taking a beating because of some other things. Well, flag football is up. But we'll point to this. 70% of kids quit by 9th grade. Why?
I think there are a lot of factors, and this is really something we need to take a look, not only at the individual and family level, but also at the community and societal level. I mean, what are our goals for our kids in youth sport? And when we as researchers ask parents and children that question, They give us a lot of answers. Not a lot of those answers have to do with winning, getting trophies, getting scholarships. So I think we need to reevaluate, maybe just look in the mirror and figure out, why are we having our children participate in this context at all? And I think when we can do that, and when those goals align across those families, individuals, communities, and society, then we'll be in a good place.
I mean, you build friendships, you build families, get friendly, you travel together, it builds unity, but at the same time, you got to keep it in perspective. And if you leave out working class kids, you're doing something wrong. Dr. Travis.
The youth sports industry has grown to become a $17 billion industry, which is more than the NFL. As the industry grows, it creates less opportunities for low-income and working-class families. As said in the video, a family can spend anywhere from 2% to 10% of their gross income per child on youth sports. With the cost of these sports growing, it is starting to create inequality on the playing field. Families are having to pay for equipment, uniform, coaches, facilities, and travel. Over time, these costs can add up. Children whose families have higher incomes are given more access to better coaches and better facilities, whereas children with lower income families wouldn't have the same access to these things due to the high price tag. It's unfair to those who are excelling in their sport, but because of the cost, they cannot participate. This matters because children should be given equal access to opportunities regardless of their family's financial state. Organizations like the training program The Red Bulls mentioned in the news article, whose goal is to target high potential athletes and give them the opportunity to play free of charge, aren't programs that we see very often, but they are something that I think needs to become more common. We need to be concerned about this issue because this is an industry that is just going to continue to grow, and we need to be able to let everyone participate. As recreation professionals, we need to be concerned about this issue because youth sports is one of the most important aspects of recreation. Even though city-run programs aren't at an elite level, it is important to be aware of these issues, as lower-income families could look more towards city-run programs over these pricey clubs.